how to navigate the blue ocean and why the maritime will transform and how you can play a role in that. Today, I will have a conversation with Chye Poh, CEO of ShipsFocus. Chye Poh, welcome. Good to have you on our podcast.
Hi, Leon. Thank you. It's very nice to be on your podcast.
Yeah, really. I like that. Maybe you're calling in from Singapore, so we are connected, and yet there is a lot of distance between us. But maybe it's good to start off with a quote I found on your website, and I'm curious in hearing more about that. And it's about the ShipsFocus studio. So what you mentioned in your website is we are a maritime dedicated venture studio with maritime domain experts, yet we operate at the fringe rather than in the center. As futurist system thinkers, designers, developers, and operators of digital platforms. We know the problems, we solve them as an outsider. This is unique to our age. So for me, this is kind of an intriguing statement about who you are. Maybe you can elaborate a bit more about ShipsFocus and why you put this on your website as this is what ShipsFocus defines. Yeah.
Okay, I try to give you a short version. First of all, I joined the industry in 1984. That's quite a while back.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I spent a couple of years in the Netherlands operating chemical tankers. And I spent most of my 32-year career building Asian largest ship brokerage. So in a way, I spent most of my time in the maritime commerce. And 8 years ago, I founded ShipsFocus to deal with the big problem, the climate change, by investing in the industry digital transition. And in that process, I found out that actually there are so many problems to solve. And it is not one startup that can solve every problem. And then after all the R&D, we found that actually it is not easy for any kind of even maritime dedicated ecosystem to even solve the issues to bring the maritime supply chain into the digital world. So that is how we gathered all the critical resources together and started experimenting, solving one problem after another, problems that we used to live as maritime practitioners ourselves. And that is how the venture studio concept came about. And over time, we also developed a maritime fund, which we think is extremely critical to invest in the startups and the startup founders who will actually bring us the real solutions to transit the industry digitally. And here we are today.
So that describes why you say, like, you need to have the center knowledge, but you need to operate at the edges, kind of. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, we think that for the maritime people, they will be too engrossed in their problems, and usually they do not see things objectively, and that is why it is important to have the empathy for them, yet to be able to solve problems in a distance.
I think one of the things I really liked, and when we, I think, first met was actually at the Pier 71, when you were giving a lecture about the industry. I really liked the part and the way you were actually bringing the knowledge to the startups and giving the insights and the understanding of the industry. And recently I've seen that you transformed that into also on LinkedIn, where you're writing a lot of blogs about the industry. And I really like this statement where you say, like, what investors and startups get wrong about the industry. And I really, that is something I picked out and valued when you were doing that lecture as well. You're bringing the knowledge to the table, really to bring it forward. But for me also, I think the understanding of the industry is essential. That is what I've learned. I entered like 12 years ago, kind of into the industry. I thought I knew a lot about the industry because I knew something about technology, and that we could solve a lot of things with technology. We developed Teqplay as a context broker, really linking a lot of data together in that part. But still, I've become more humble every year that I age, in the fact that I realize how much I still do not know. But based on what you have been sharing and the insights that you do have, what do you see as the biggest thing that people are not getting right from the industry?
Yeah, many issues. As you mentioned, there are so many materials, endless flow of materials for me to write. But I enjoy doing it every day. Actually, for now, it has been a weekly affair. The industry actually is complex yet systematic, if we are able to see it from a systems perspective. But a lot of research is focused on the container segment, which is actually a minority, a small segment of all the shipping segments. If you consider in terms of tonnage, in terms of volume, in terms of the number of ships, the bulk of the trade, of global trades, are actually in the tankers and the bulkers business. Bulkers actually consists of 50% of all the segments, and tankers is good about 35%. And so there's a lot of money and research that focus on a small area, so majority of the business are left out. So no wonder people don't quite understand the shipping as a whole. So that is just one to start with. And then the tech perspective, coming to a very manual, 24/7, full of legacy systems industry, you need to really have a full dose of understanding and empathy. And I think a lot of time there's technology, but there's lack of empathy, and that is also creating some kind of disparity in the matching the two.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a big machine, but are still humans who are running it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things which got me excited is and I think this is where we align. You mentioned like people are missing out on the biggest technological transfer the world will ever see, and being the maritime industry. Why do you think why do you see it is that big? What is the volume? How do you, how can we reason about it? How can we get that message across that it's that big and that significant?
Okay. First of all, the significance of the maritime supply chain is usually omitted. We know, insiders know, 90% of global trade is actually seaborne, but there's no good articulation and explanation going out to the world. So the world actually do not value the maritime supply chain so much, despite its significant enablement of global trade. But this maritime supply chain is extremely diversified. As I mentioned, there are many, many different segments and sub-segments of shipping, full of different nodes on a very long chain. And these chain is smoothed over the centuries by different stakeholders, one generation after another, honing their skills. And this group of stakeholders actually are made up by a long tail of what I call MSMEs, the medium-sized enterprises. But this long tail of MSMEs, they offer very specialized, customized, and personalized services because of their unique skills in every port, because every port is different in the world. So every ship that comes to a different port, you need very specialized skills. So this long tail of MSME is usually neglected because they are small. But this, as the industry undergoes the transition, the digital transition, the startups tend to go after the big boys who are louder, who are more prominent, who have scale in their own size. This accentuates the problem of the neglect the MSMEs actually suffer from. But today, as the technology is extremely low cost, but this is actually a very good opportunity to empower these MSMEs and build what I call the level playing field, that they have a chance to actually be empowered technologically and keep and maintain their positions, their skills, their expertise, their offerings. So that's how I see that startups can actually look at this long tail of MSMEs as a potential scale that they can enjoy. And as a result, when they succeed, they actually can cost, as you said, the largest technological transfer the world will ever see. But this...
why is it so difficult, or why are people missing out? Is that because it's a hard job? Is it are the processes too different? What is people stopping from seeing this?
But this is hard because even not necessarily in the maritime industry, all the small companies, they are not technological minded. But they don't have the resources in the past. They believe that they don't have the resources to undertake any kind of technological transition. But so they are inherently not very pro adopting some new tech, whether it's software or hardware adoption. But so startup needs to understand that and have that kind of empathy to approach them and explain to them how it works, because today you have a SaaS model that you can offer extremely low cost solution. And I would advise that the startups don't be too eager to get their money back, because over time, if you have this adoption by a long tail of customers, then the scale will come and you can make your money back in time.
Clear. One of the other things that intrigued me in one of your posts, and I think we are also aligned over there, is that you're making a statement that the industry is making incorrect assumptions about efficiency and optimization. And at Teqplay, we're looking at, can we expose waste? Can we make inefficiencies visible? And can we help to eliminate it? So I think it would be good to elaborate a bit more on what are these types of incorrect assumptions or that people are making. What have you seen? What have you learned over the last decades with respect to this fact?
Okay. There are many, but I will use one example. For example, we take efficiency for granted, and we assume that every company wants to be efficient. But just now, as I mentioned, the SMS, all the companies, small and big included, their role is actually offer a service. Shipping is actually a derived demand business. So it's to service the cargo, the trade, to move the cargo from one port to another. And the rest of the shipping services is to support the ship and the carrier to, carry out that performance of the shipment. Mm-hmm. And so, but just this assumption that everyone wants efficient operation is wrong, because the carrier must wait for the cargo owner, and the rest of the shipping services should wait for the ship, but just them to do work. And so actually, if you know some of the service providers, actually they thrive on being there when the customer wants their service. So by being there means they have to stand by and not be operating. So, but this is not efficiency-centric operation. This is customer-centric operation. But just by being not so efficient, by being there when the customer wants you, you get the business, and you can actually run a good business model running an inefficient business.
Maybe I want to challenge that one. I've been talking and working a lot with agencies in the industry, and one of the key things I get back from them in conversations is everyone is always bargaining about the price. It has nothing to do. People are not taking into account what we need to do with and that we need to be available. They are just kind of as in the Dutch health system. They are taking only the action as the element of value, and not the service of being of service in that respect. I know you have been also working in the agency space. Is agencies, or are agencies different in that respect? Are they being scrutinized in a different way, or is that how do you see that?
Shipping services and shipping generally as a whole is a highly competitive business with very low entry level. So you got to be ready to take such kind of competitive environment. So that is a given. But you need to develop some unique operations. So in Singapore, there's like 500 shipping agencies. So every one of them offers something unique. And as I said, most of these companies, they offer specialized, so every and more than anything else, personalized service. So they actually understand their customers' needs extremely well. So the customers actually over time, so everyone want to switch to another more competitive offering because of such kind of unique, personalized service.
And how does that then relate to the drive within the industry to go for operational excellence? Ports are looking at that big time. I think a lot of the bigger shipping lines or commodity traders are looking at the efficiency things. They are looking for that angle. I do see a risk over there that people, there's this very special or relationship-driven way of doing business is interfering with the efficiency in a different way.
I think the efficiency drive has to be worked within a certain parameters. So when I say that, not everything is driven by efficiency motivation, is to highlight that there are exceptions, and those exceptions we have to understand and not take for granted that every customer wants efficient operation. And if you understand that, you will tailor your solution accordingly, and you get the customer support in return.
Yeah.
So that's not to say that
I think it's an interesting discussion to have with customers. Sorry?
Yes, that's not to say that there are no efficiency purpose. Definitely, I think every company, there is room for improvement in terms of how we run the operations. And this is where digitalization comes big time, right? I think digitalization will change the way that the shipping business is run. Because if you look at all the shipping companies or shipping-related companies, they assign a big allocation of resource in operations. And many of the operations are procedural, documentations, administrations, of which most of them can be automated digitally. So in this sense, such kind of efficiency drive is a given.
Yeah. And I think digitization also brings something else to the table, is the fact that it can be real time. I think there is,
yes,
there are still a lot of processes which are being operated by humans which causes delays entering and entering the data at the moment that it already can be entered or can be known. If you can prevent that, from my perspective, that will enable your decision making capabilities or to react more proactively in that sense. The other one, and I think it refers a bit back towards the blue ocean or the SMEs that you were mentioning. Like, there is a lot of value. Maybe it's good to touch a bit upon the underestimating the network and the multiplier effect. I did read the post. There is a high velocity of money you mentioned, but maybe it's good to take one step deeper on that one. What do you exactly mean by this underestimating the network and multiplier effect in the maritime solution space?
Okay. There are people who argue that actually in the maritime commerce, you cannot create unicorns, tech startup unicorns. I beg to differ. I think there are rooms for actually numerous unicorns. If you take the freight market alone, we don't even need to go to the cargo level. We just start with the shipping level. The freight market is a $1 trillion market. And with the freight, the carriers spend on the necessary costs, enabling the performance of the contract, either by paying to the ship manager or the ship agents who pays the port services. So every of this node actually enjoy the same amount of money being distributed and circulated. And so actually there are multiple billion-dollar markets out there, or hundreds of billion-dollar markets out there. So just now I mentioned $1 trillion freight market. So port expense average $25,000 per port call. And according to UNCTAD, they have over 4 million port calls every year. So that is a $100 billion port expense market. So generally, people tend to omit the market size, and also startups offering the SaaS as a business today may make it appear that actually there's not much money to be made, but actually the money is will have to come later part of the startup cycle. And as you know, startup works on the exponential curve, which will happen at some tipping point. And then when that exponential curve happens, there will be a lot of benefits to be derived from. So this is one aspect of the market size. And another network effect you mentioned is, for example, the startup can work on one carrier or one customer, cargo owner, and the cargo owner can have many contracts with many carriers, and the carriers has several ships. Let's say a fleet of 20. You don't need to go to the big ones with 100 ships. Say that 20 ships, and the 20 ships make calls to maybe a few hundred port calls every year, and those different ports will create many port calls, and so there are a lot of potential for scaling, and this is the network effect that sometimes are omitted.
Clear. Maybe moving on to a final question. I think we touched a lot upon the market and the market potential, and where there is value and where there is room for improvement. But it's all about people at the end. So change and change management is really one of the key elements on that. And if I say change, I've been running this project for 10 years. For me, I find this one of the most challenging topics to get things implemented within this industry. Do you have any recommendation or advice to the audience that you say, like, well, if you think about change management, take this one as well and think about this topic?
I think generally people dislike change. You and I too were inclusive. Maybe not you, but I think sometimes. So other than this, I think there's not enough credit to the industry stakeholders, and sometimes they are being labeled as resistant to change. But I think sometimes they have very good reasons not to just jump onto any kind of new tech solutions that are touted to them. Because first, I think the tech doesn't always deliver, we have to admit. And sometimes the product doesn't deliver. You must realize that many of the stakeholders, the players in the marketplace, they have honed their skills over time. They are very efficient in what they do. So even if it is on an Excel sheet, so the solution must do better. So if the solutions don't do so much better, why should they change and pay more money? So that is actually something that I think the solution provider must reflect on. And these are just some of the reasons. Yeah.
Chye Poh, thank you very much for having this conversation. Time is flying. We're at the end of the podcast. I really want to thank you. I hope the audience will enjoy the talk as much as I did. And looking forward to meet you again in real life in Singapore or in the Netherlands in a quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
and enjoy your evening.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.